All right. So I don't like going to the gym. I'll be the first one to say it, but I do like getting better at the sports I almost just swore, and I always try not to, that I care about. Um, and so Tati and Steve, you all have a lot of experience in the sports world, in the I don't know what you call it, the wearable world, which I clearly don't, because look at my, I got nothing except for, most important hardware. But Tati, you just said something before we recorded. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm going to set you up. So you were describing the nature of a wearables approach and philosophy overarching to the data that it acquires and what it does with it and how that translates to your improved or not so improved and diminished customer experience. So go ahead. I don't want to take your lines because they were killer, and I want to make sure they get recorded and that's you get credit for it.
No, thank you. And I won't mention which wearable, but I do think that this actually I wore a couple of different ones over the last couple of years, and I believe they're all going in the same direction. You have more data. There's more, there's more data thrown at you. There's more boxes and places where you can see more, and you can download reports. You can do all these things. But I don't want more data. I want them to learn about me. I want it to be personalized. I don't want to know my sleep profile. I want to know how my lack of sleep in the last 2 nights could have caused my migraine. I could, that those are the things, and learning about me, understanding how my physiology works over time really will be ideal in my mind in terms of a customer experience of a wearable. Say, okay, I've been wearing this for a prolonged period of time. It learns about me, learns the things that how my body works. It learns the fluctuations in mood and weight in a variety of things, right? In health, and in my case, migraines. It learns all of that to help you figure that out versus just throwing more data at me of various things. And I was saying earlier, I have now this new popped up this new cardio load that I can never hit, and it's I exercise every day, but I can never hit this random cardio goal that has been giving me, and it has not asked me a single thing, and it has not learned a single
Yeah.
thing about me.
Less about you, wearable, more about Tati. Rule number one of Fight Club: people care about their stuff, not you, hardware stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm stealing your thunder a bit, but I just can't help the way you described it was making me laugh. It's so true. It's like less about you, more
And
about me.
and truthfully, this is I will buy anything if that works. I will buy your updates. I
Of
will buy
course.
the wristbands. I will buy all of it if that's what That's the kind of. But it feels like a short. And I love Steve's take on this, but it feels like a short-sighted view. Well, first it feels like someone said more is better, and everybody kind
Not
of runs
true.
with that, right? Which is not true. But there's always that person in the room, in the big rooms, that says, "No, let's just do more. We have more data. Let's just put everything out there." But then, in addition to that, is sort of a short-term play with this as well, which is trying to sell you on whatever additional services right then and there, versus thinking about you as a someone that becomes just tied to that. I can't imagine if it learned about me that I would ever even consider moving to another one.
Yeah, what's interesting, and we spent a lot of time on the sports tech, kind of in the wearable market. It's a bit generic right now, right? Like the devices are very generic. It's not personalized. Your experience is very true. People will go from one device to the next, right? Pick and choose one, throw that into the technology drawer of death in their end table, and then move on to the next one. And one of the things we've done is just kind of get allowed for persistence of data, right? Which is huge. The ability to sort of know you over time and be able to continue to have your data inform various different things. I think the other thing that is very generic right now is the insights that are coming from the wearables, and they're trying to gamify it too, which is really interesting. Sort of put your sleep patterns into a box, but at the end of the day, there's kind of a couple things in the health and human performance space that a user wants. One is personalized insights. Tell me how my sleep affected my performance in the field or in the court or just in general life. And then, Alec, to your point, I know you're big into tennis now, but like sports specific insights. How do I get better at this? So I've talked to a lot of people that are in a that just have a passion for a certain sports. A lot of golfers that are like, I just want to know how to get my game better. Of course, that's the classic thing. But same thing for tennis. Same thing for youth sports, baseball, softball, lacrosse, all that. So I think there's kind of this market that is know the individual, know that their health and human performance, know their habits, know their calendars, right?
Yeah.
And know the things they're into, know the sports they're into, and then be able to pull all that data together and then push those insights, create those insights based on that personal information and that data, and then create those insights to help that person and create habits.
Yeah. What surprises me about all this stuff is like it just seems so obvious, and it goes back to both your points. It's like less about you, the company and the hardware provider, and more about me and getting to know me. And then you can sell me more stuff because you're going to sell me things that I want because you're going to know because you have the data that you process insights and you're giving it to me. Right. Like I'll bring up my favorite, Chipotle. Every time I park in the parking lot, the app's like, hey, what's up, Alec? Like, you want the taco thing, whatever, whatever. If Chipotle can figure it out, right? Like, and feed me more time. And I get the same thing every time, by the way. So Chipotle still tries, even though I get the same thing every time. But it's like, I don't understand why these companies don't create some sort of an ambient layer that starts with my North Star and then just, help me get better, help me, interact with your ecosystem more as long as it aligns with my interests. Like, I just don't get it.
Just we want to know your order, by the way. But
It's always the same.
besides that, the thing that blows my mind is that what, like, when we're talking about again our work in talking about personalization, right? How easy would it be? The gamification piece, Steve is absolutely correct that they're doing this more and more. But how easy would it be to figure out what games are important to me?
Just
How easy
ask.
would it be? How easy would it be to know, like, what will be a reason I will want to log in every day? Is it points? Is it comparison to others? Is it a how do you make this exciting for me versus the standard gamification for everybody? And by the way, 15 games going on at the same time. You're like, wait, I can't be playing all these games, right? Okay, which one am I playing? What's important to me? It would be so easy to personalize that with the technology we have today. So instead of expanding the breadth, you expand the depth, you go deeper into the things that matter.
Yeah, and there's an interesting thing that's happening within the wearables and just sports tech market right now, which is all these companies are just selling hardware, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like buy the next thing, which is a retail play, and a product play. And the ones that are going to get it right are going to be able to put that layer on top that really understands their users, their consumers, and creates personalized experiences is for those consumers, right?
And it's the classic dilemma of sales, right? Do you want, you can sell short term and kind of run and be like, all right, we got this, let's go to the next customer and try to acquire a new customer and try to play it that way. Or you can play the long game in which you are, yes, you're selling to me and you're going to have to spend more time and you're going to have to really think about how I do this. But you, over time, CLV, customer lifetime value,
Yeah.
which we don't always talk about as a specific, but everything we talk about is related to that, right? What does that look like? How does that impact? How customer lifetime value? How this is the only sustainable competitive advantage that you have is building.
So not to get all nerdville, but you just trigger something for me, Tati, too, which, and I think going deeper, you also are going to start to understand, who does Tati run with? Who does Steve play baseball, softball, basketball with? Who does Alec play tennis with? Whatever other sport, right? And all of a sudden, it's not just like banking on the word of mouth. Like there are ways to then start to create networks that can be introduced via knowledge graphs that can then introduce even more value, not just to the individual, but to the ecosystem and to the community, which now you've got yourself a much, much more robust business model versus like moving more and more product into the junk shelf every 12 months. Shout out Apple, Steve's favorite company. I don't even buy this stuff anymore. I reluctantly do. Sorry, I didn't mean to dump on Apple, but I felt like it was appropriate because someone's going to watch the previous video and be like, "Boy, Alex got a real problem with Apple these days." Um, in any case, I think this is an awesome conversation. We should do more of this because it's real, and I don't know why they don't figure it out. I guarantee somebody, one of these companies, is going to reach out to us and be like, "What did you mean by that?" It's like, "Oh, funny you should ask."
Yeah. Well, Tati, you mentioned, the fact that some of these companies, they don't understand or ask you questions, right? And I think I've seen that persistently within this space, sports tech space. And so, we've talked about a lot about conversational AI. A lot of times, the surveys is sort of like an outdated thing, right? So conversations with the users, I think, is where it's going to go. Asking those questions in a conversation through voice and being able to natively within the device kind of pop in your AirPods, obviously, and sort of ask those questions on the go or while you're working out and doing certain things. And then the whole nutrition space is big too. So the ability to like track your food and track what you're eating, using image technology and video technology to take pictures of what you're eating or what you're doing, right? Getting, motion analysis with your form, things like that. Like that's what we're seeing, what we're building, and where it's going. So it's going to just continue. I kind of find the sports tech space as ripe for innovation. There's a lot of pockets of really interesting things. There's a lot of like cool devices that are coming out. Even like Peloton sort of, they created a community and ecosystem with their stuff, but it kind of went up and down and it's gone up and down. But it's ripe for innovation and change and AI. So it's a good time to focus on sports tech. Yeah.
I just add one thing when you're talking about Peloton or something like that. I think it's the pitfall that so many of the companies fall into, which is you start with the experience, you start with the community, you figured out how that works, and then your product starts selling. Then you go, because obviously your margin is much higher on that, it's a lot less work, and you just go, oh, okay, I'm just going to sell this product, not realizing that the foundation that holds it together, the reason why your product is so attractive, is because you've created this framework around it that enables for it. So many of the conversations I've had in my entire career around CX is about sort of this invisible rope that is pulling it together. And so much of the skill set that you gain working in CX is being able to quantify that the very best way you can. But there's a true part of that you can't quantify the same way you quantify other things. And the companies that understand that invisible rope, it may be invisible, but it is a damn good rope that is pulling this together. And over time, if you undo it, if you don't have, if it's no longer about the community, if it's no longer about which, it's, we can go back all the way back to talk about core competencies, to talk about what's your real added value, what's your real competitive advantage. You move away from that so many times to that point, and you're trying to sell something else because that all of a sudden became something you start selling really well, and you have a great margin on it, and you can scale, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you check all these boxes, and there's a decision that's made, which is why you need people advising you on, which flight path to take.
Yeah. To me, it's user-centric design on a lot of these things too. If you just stick to focusing on the user, those companies thrive. But I think, to your point, like when the focus of the business moves away from the user experience and more on like what else can we sell, what can we make the most profit on, that's when you see the dips, right? And I think we've seen that in this space, certainly with Peloton and others, and they're sort of getting back to the user experience side of things. But user-centric design, it's the core of everything, right? Understand your users and focus on them.
Yeah, and to that Peloton point, and not to state, be Captain Obvious, I'm sure there's all sorts of reasons why what I'm about to say is like, well, it's not that easy, but like I use a Peloton periodically in our gym, right? Great way to get some cardio in, time it, throw my music in, whatever. I pick whatever option. It's like scenic, this, that, the other thing, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it might be. But the thing is, like, why do I have to pick from five very static, linear, the same experiences? Like, can't that just be like connected to a generative AI model that can like sync up with my music and create some sort of visual thing that associate? Like, it just seems so like that would be so much. Not that, and to Peloton's credit, not that it's going to change my user behavior because I'm already using it, but I don't really enjoy it. I just do it because, like I said on the front end, it helps me get better at the things I actually care about, which are the sports I play, you know? And so I don't know, there's something about all this stuff that I'm optimistic that there's going to be a lot of innovation in this space when you take down these more traditional silos of data sets and silos and legacy old school, infrastructure, and start to unleash user centric customer experience, models and approach, and like just like make it better. Less about the hardware, Tati, more about you, right? Like let's talk about the important stuff. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy formula, folks.
It's
Make it.
the formula's still the same. We just got much better tools to do it with now.
Isn't that the truth? We'll end on that because that's literally the headline for this segment. And go back and see Steve's love for Apple. Got you again, Steve. All right, that's it. See ya.